How's it going, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Fantasy Baseball Dynasty Podcast. I'm your host, Keith Mulder. Today we have the Commish, the 2024 Winterfell League champion, here in attendance. Nick Beach, how are we doing today?
I'm good. Thanks for having me. How are you, Keith?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. The Commish of the league for the last 2 years, and well run, might I add. A guy who is been at the helm of this league for a long time, and I just want to say I appreciate you bringing me on. Has been a life changer for sure. And yeah, I just guess curious first question off the gate, just kind of like 3 years in now, or it's on our third year. Like, how has it been like being Commish?
Oh, getting easier. Definitely at first it was challenging. I previously commissioned a, much less intense fantasy football league and I hated it and gave my commish powers to Tyler, another one of our league members. And with baseball, I had Zane and Alex help setting this up because they had played redraft with me, and that was helpful because we kind of winged a lot of the settings on the fly. And what I've learned over time is our settings are pretty different than a lot of fantasy baseball leagues and a lot of dynasty leagues in general because industry standards seem to not really like the ESPN scoring very much. But I think we were so used to it over time and used to the you work up to a max amount of starting pitchers in a week that we wanted to stick with that, and it was the most informative for the way we were going to draft when we did the startup. Fiddling with the settings over time has been a pain. Definitely was overwhelmed when we needed to do the first year player draft, and am overwhelmed every time somebody uh isn't recording points in a day because they had some weird roster issue or whatever. It's like, can you fix this? It's like, yeah, and I still don't understand why we can't do waiver priority on waivers, you know what I'm saying? Like where you try to drop the same player in two separate claims and prioritize one of them, like a thing you do in fantasy football. I literally don't do it. I'm just like, if I'm making a second claim, I'm dropping a different player or else I don't even try. So a lot of kinks with the software that we use, but in terms of running the league, I think I'm pretty on top of it, and I like to keep things active and I like to include league opinion, and you and I are usually talking about things and Alec and I are usually talking about things. So good. In year three, I feel a lot better than in year one.
Definitely, definitely. Big year coming up. MLB season coming your way. I mean, at least when this pod will be out, in whatever it is, 48 hours. Giants, Yankees, live on Netflix. Nick Beach, you got Logan Webb. Will you be watching?
Yes, I believe I will be watching. I feel like it's been 3 years in a row I've ran into this hard Logan Webb matchup at the start of the year. I think last year it was the Dodgers, maybe. Can't remember what it was 2 years ago, but music to my ears that this game is in San Francisco and not in Yankee Stadium. I'm just like, okay, Webb gets to open the year at home. I get a little bit of a reprieve despite a hard matchup. So, yes, I'm excited for baseball. You got to be chomping at the bit. You've been excited for baseball since 2 days after it ended. So,
Oh yeah, no, I've been on an absolute heater. I mean, people in the league already know. I mean, I've been I've been looking forward to the date is circled on the calendar, March 25th. Yeah, only thing I'm waiting for at this point is just to get the free MLB TV. So, got to shout out my guy Bernard up in LA. He's I'm waiting to shoot him the text.
thanks, Bernard. Appreciate you, brother.
Yeah. All right, so before we get into our Week One matchup, which we will talk about in a moment, just want to catch up on some general MLB news because a lot of moves have been happening. A lot of league moves also have been happening, which we will
They
get
sure
to
have.
in a moment. But yeah, some things I want to touch on in terms of just general baseball moves. A ton of guys, as we know, as spring training has been coming to a close. Guys getting optioned, some that we kind of expected, some maybe not so much. Chrissy Campbell, unfortunately, getting optioned to the minors. A couple names I'll read off right now. Jason Dominguez, Bryce Eldridge, Robert Hassel III. Not that he was necessarily amazing last year. Your guy, Logan Henderson, also optioned to the minors. Let's see who else. Zebby Matthews, Hai Sung Kim, Braxton Garrett, JJ Bleday, Hayden Birdsong, placed on the 60-day IL, needing Tommy John, Dean Kramer as well. Any of those names kind of stand out to you? Juan Brito as well, option in the minors, and I guess kind of your thoughts on Henderson going to the minors as well.
Ooh, the one that surprised me was Dean Kramer because
Yeah.
of his veteran status and like amount of time he's been in that rotation. Now, I'm not like a Dean Kramer fan, and it does seem like, to my eyes, the five pitchers that the Orioles chose to be in the rotation are better than Dean Kramer. But what it did make me notice, and I don't think it's the only team that's doing this, is it feels like the offseason we were fed this information that a lot of teams would be using a six-man rotation, and it seems to be that actually no teams are going to use a six-man rotation. Like that was just a lie. Or early in the year, there's enough days off that they don't have to do it. But it sounds like some teams are even going to go with four pitchers for a couple weeks because there's so many days off. And I'm like, I don't even know if that's like the right way of doing it. I feel like you should have five even with a bunch of days off to get the pitchers the most rest. And all this getting pitchers extra rest has been better for their results. Like, do no teams seem to care about that now? So that's why Kramer stood out to me.
I agree. I mean, you're already down a guy, and then you want to add even more stress onto the arms you have right now. Seems a little counterintuitive. I know the Yankees have been flirting with the four-man rotation, right? Because of
Right.
Luis Hill. I'm not sure what they're going to do with him. I agree. Yeah, Kramer getting the option a little bit interesting. Yeah, I know we talk about this off pod, of course, but a lot of our roster makeup in terms of our minor slots with both Drew Anderson and Ryan Weiss, we're hoping they are the sixth man in these rotations, and they are not. And I don't even think that Anderson or Weiss are going to be long relief. I mean, maybe Weiss. I don't know, but
Yeah. Yeah, like
yeah.
Luis Heel can't make the Yankees rotation. That's another one that stood out to me too, because they're like going to use a four man or whatever.
Seems very strange. I don't know. And we could see tomorrow that reports are different and, guys get hurt. Anything could happen in the first week. But, yeah, definitely a weird thing. Speaking of moves, we talk about guys getting optioned, but also a lot of guys getting dropped as well. Finally, rosters are legal. So,
Wait, let me touch on Henderson before you go further.
oh, yeah, yeah.
Just since you asked. I think it's fine. I think that I keep kind of coming to the conclusion that Henderson is not really favored by the Brewers and that they don't really like think of him as highly as some other people do. And when he came up and pitched last year, he was obviously good, but he's like a two pitch pitcher that doesn't throw that hard. So there's like deprioritizing him for guys with like higher upside or whatever. That doesn't mean Henderson's not good. He might be good, but I don't know. They've had so many rotation issues and they have Brandon Woodruff. Like Henderson will be up at some point, and I went and grabbed Kyle Harrison instead, who I still have for the moment. So I don't know. I don't like feel too weird about Henderson not being on the team.
Gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I figured injuries are going to happen. Guys are going to suck. He's going to get the call. And if he's a good guy, he's a good pitcher, like, to be honest, better that he's not hurt than anything. Like, he's in the minors. He's got options. He'll get the call.
Yeah, and with your frantic Twitter activity, you freaked me out the one day when it was like right after I'd picked up Kyle Harrison, and it was right when they announced that Logan Henderson was having elbow soreness or whatever a week or two ago. And then you're just like, wow, what a save by Nick getting Kyle Harrison. And then in a matter of like 8 days, Kyle Harrison had a blister and Logan Henderson was completely healthy. Yeah, but it seems like Henderson's going to be in the minors and Harrison's going to be in the majors. So yeah, that
Right.
was funny.
Yeah, sometimes, yeah, it's kind of weird, kind of projecting that way. Like, who did they even pick up to? Yeah, Drohan as well, if I'm pronouncing that guy's name correctly. He was involved in the trade with Boston to Milwaukee in the Durbin trade. Shane Drohan, another like minor league guy. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that the Brewers is just an embarrassment of riches with like plenty of good arms in their system, and it doesn't matter who it is. Like they're going to plug and play and be successful.
Yeah, they develop pitching well. That was part of my thinking with acquiring both of them.
Looking at the, as we mentioned, the transactions within the league. Everyone now, as we stand, is currently legal. Some big acquisitions. We had a big trade, but also a couple guys got Cole Young to Alec for 60 waiver dollars, which is a decent chunk. We also saw, Cole Henry going to Tyler. We picked up Max Scherzer, and then Nate picking up our former dog, Adrian Hauser, as well this morning. And then a big trade as well. T-Flow and Joey exchanging some minor league guys, but Braxton Garrett, Ty Pete, and Shane Smith going to Team Joey, and then Adley Rushman and Edwin Arroyo going to Tristan. So I guess we'll first start off with your thoughts on Cole Young going for $60. Is that something you wanted, or I don't know?
Did I want Cole Young?
Yeah, what are you thinking about it?
Not really. Cole Young was a guy who I had starred, and really the only opportunity he would have had on my team was if I had injuries early in the year because I'm like so loaded on middle infielders. I had to trade Jackson Holiday. I had to drop Luis Garcia Jr., and I'm still basically heavy on a middle infielder because of my terrible losing position eligibility in the offseason, forcing me to like not be starting Ivan Herrera for the time being. And McLean had such a good spring, and obviously months ago I was like trying to trade McLean, and now I'm like, oh, obviously I'm not going to trade him now. And Cole Young I actually drafted. He was a guy that I had, and I brought him up, and I gave him a little bit of a shot last year, and he stunk. Not to say he won't break out. Sometimes guys break out in their second year, but I didn't really have room for another middle infielder. I'm not worried about the cost for Alec. We lose our money soon, and I'm kind of going to do my best this season to subscribe to the theory that Tristan had when he was arguing about waiver claims with Joey over text, where he said, you know, you don't get the waiver dollars back, right? Like, what am I saving them for? Like, we may as well spend them. And unless I make a claim tonight, I'm going to effectively have lost 40 some dollars. I didn't get outbid on anybody in the offseason, but that's just like, I could just be spending the money.
I agree. I agree. Yeah, sometimes you got to risk it for the biscuit, and yeah, $60. I mean, hey, he's got Cole Young now, which could be a guy. He's young. There's Colt Emerson got option in the minors as well, so there is some time to be played with Cole Young. Now, there's a lot of guys in that infield. J.P. Crawford currently hurt. Some questions there, so we'll just have to see. But yeah,
And
curious if
Alec
you're.
needed him. Alec needed a middle infielder, and
That's right.
according to uh, an unnamed source, Alec was working on another trade to get a middle infielder, but it seems like the Cole Young acquisition means that nothing was working out there. So he decided to grab Cole Young as his middle infielder.
Interesting. So the stove was hot. Another trade could have been had by Alec.
Yeah, he had it sounds like he maybe even had two offers on the table, or he had two almost offers on the table and he took them off the table or something. Maybe something still gets done.
Now I'm curious, given the fact that he dropped Tyler O'Neill, the guy who is homered in what is it, 5 or 6 straight opening days. Like, you don't want to roll the dice on it being 7.
Um, can you tell me who the Orioles are playing on opening day? And I'll give you an answer.
Let's see. They are playing Minnesota
Minnesota.
at
Okay.
home.
Do we have Minnesota's pitcher? We probably do, right? Who is it?
What did Joe Ryan?
Haley Ober or something? Joe Ryan? Is Joe Ryan
Yeah,
healthy?
one of the two. Not entirely sure yet.
Every team's announced it. Go to the MLB schedule.
All right. Schedule. Give me a sec here. Yeah, Joe Ryan.
Okay. Interesting. I would guess that the Orioles are smart enough to just start Tyler O'Neill on opening day. But given the amount of outfield and kind of hitter's clog that Baltimore has right now, I'm like, that he might just be like a true platoon bat with Dylan Beavers or someone similar. So maybe he doesn't play that day. So no, I'm not going to roll the dice.
That's fair. That's fair. Big trade as well, as we mentioned, with Tristan to Joey. Curious on your thoughts on the trade. I know it wasn't as big of a splash necessarily, but some guys in that trade.
I like it. I think I this is the type of trade that this league is lacking, where it's like two teams that aren't really competing right now are trying to do something to change their team up. I think it's a sensible trade for both sides. I understand Joey wanting to get off of Adley. Adley's basically stunk for him, and he's got a couple interesting catchers on his team already. Shane Smith's a guy I like. I'm not really sure if that's like met with much evidence. I think in my brain, I'm just like, he's the best guy the White Sox have right now, theoretically, and maybe someone will be pretty good in that rotation. And he had some moments last year. I think Tiflo taking on Adley is smart. I think like taking on a young player, betting on a bounce back is good. Obviously, Tiflo like needed to do something to change up his team, and like he kind of needs to push it into a little bit of a new era. So pretty sensible trade for both sides. I don't really know a ton about the prospects, and doesn't seem like either of them are game changers for the moment.
Yeah, right. Well, yeah. Also, I take a little bit of exception to the fact that you think that Shane Smith is the best White Sox pitcher when they have a guy like Shawnee Burke on there.
Sean Burke, he's the guy that you love to see getting streamed by your opponent.
Yeah, he just like a high pitch machine. Like he'll go like
Three
90
and a
pitches through
third with
four.
6 walks.
Yeah, it's like, all right, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Yeah, Shane Smith, a good pitcher for sure. I mean, last year, at least in terms of like baseball stats wise, like 146 innings, a 1.196 WHIP, 3.81 ERA, 145 Ks. I liked it. Obviously, playing for the Sox does have its fantasy downsides in the fact that they're not going to score a ton of runs, but 9.2 points per game, it's not bad,
Yeah.
especially if he's young.
Yeah. If he repeats that sort of production over, say, 165 innings and is like fairly consistent year to year, that's like a valuable player. It's a good
Yeah.
pitcher to have.
And I think Ty Pete. I know, I know. Joey's big on him. I have heard his name thrown around. I know Edwin Arroyo is a bit of a bigger name just in terms of like the prospect rankings, but
Yeah.
both young enough to where it's not like this is some like groundbreaker or anything. So I thought it was pretty even for both sides.
Yeah, yeah. I guess let me ask you a question. Do you want to do any more final reckoning with the Alec and Travis trade? Where are you at on that? Whatever, a week later.
I'm good. I'm good. I've said all I've needed to say in the chat, and not that I'm like ducking, like talking about it again. I just think, yeah, folks know how I feel about it. Yeah, definitely a funny thing that like, oh, Robbie Snelling got optioned to the minors or whatever. But
I guess we'll kind of see.
We
I'm
knew
looking
that.
forward to. I'm sorry.
We knew Robbie Snelling was going to get option to the minors.
yeah, yeah, I think it's more like what is Andrew Painter going to do? Like I'm looking forward to this weekend and seeing. All right, like is this guy for real? Um, and I think that Philly has a lot of, I guess, like question marks in their rotation as well. Like, is Taiwan Walker going to be a guy? Are they going to bring up someone else? Or, what happens with Lucas Giolito? Do they sign him?
I don't know, but
You are attached to that Giolito situation. I'm glad Giolito's not my problem.
ugh,
And you're extra attached because you traded big assets for him. But
this is true.
yeah, Lucas Giolito, this reminds me of like several situations in the past, one of which being Blake Snell signing late in the game with the Giants 2 years ago, whatever that was.
That's right.
Him not being built up in time. He's obviously a better pitcher. And then one back in the day was, I think it was Dallas Keuchel. He might have been a Boris client, and this is why he like held out so long to sign his contract. And he was coming off a pretty good year with the Astros. And I think on like, I don't know, call it like April 15th or something like that, he signed with the Twins and wasn't built up. And then just like his career became useless from that point on. And it seems like what Giolito should have done was take whatever cheap 1 year contract he was being offered so he could build his value back up this season.
I agree. I agree. Yeah, I'm from a fantasy perspective, like it's annoying as hell. But from a personal perspective, I'm sure he's just doing what's best for his family and his career and his future, whatever. But I got games to win. I got championships to win.
Championships, eh?
That's what. Hey, that's what they say. I don't know. We will see. Maybe he'll get signed this week, and we'll put all this to bed. But in the meantime, not super ideal. Anyway, moving on. We have a big matchup this week between you and I. Just taking a look at the issue I have. I mean, they haven't fully announced. Teams haven't fully announced all of their rotations yet. Like who's going to pitch on what day. So
According to Fantrax, I only have four starters. You only have three, or at least the little number says right now. But
I gained Emmett Sheehan today. I know.
gotcha.
And I also don't usually set my lineup days ahead of time. I like wait until the morning to set my lineup for the next day because I never like rely on them telling me 3 days ahead of time who the pitcher is. Things change too much.
gotcha. That's fair. Yeah, curious on this week's matchup. Obviously, you and I going against each other to open the year. Not a fun matchup. Just given our minors guys, could be the aces in the hole. A little long relief on Sunday. I know you're a big Sunday guy, so yeah, curious of your thoughts.
Yeah, I think I'm speaking of Sunday, I think I'm gonna my thoughts are I'm gonna intentionally avoid baseball on Sunday. I'll be like, fairly locked in the days prior, but I have to have some Sundays away from the television this year for my own good. Something I'd like to point out about the history of the Nick versus the Bahds matchup, and I didn't fact check this, but you might know the information. I believe I'm undefeated against the Bahds in the history of the league.
Ooh,
I want to say 5-0 is my record against you guys.
I, I I think it might be 4-1. Honestly, I feel like I remember one week where we won, and I really wanted to gloat and wanted to talk crap, but I was like, you know what? No, I'm gonna take it in stride.
Which would have been like,
I think probably 2024. I think that's probably when.
really? I don't know about that. I don't
Mhm.
think so. I think if it would have happened, it would have been last year because I had like almost no losses in 2024. I think I was like 20-3 or 19-4 or something like that.
Really? Hmm.
Yeah.
Let's check. We'll check
Last
on
year, I
that.
remember I beat you on the Sunday in a high scoring matchup when Will Vest got me the save in the Sunday night game, and I won by like 15 or something. I know
Mm,
that was one of them. Obviously, the playoff matchup this past year that I won. I
right.
know that there was a disaster Alexis Diaz appearance when we were at the tennis courts playing tennis on a Sunday in 2024, and I ended up winning. That's three
Right.
right there. So there would have been probably two more matchups. I want to say I've not lost to the Bods, but it's too hard to like go back and look at old info from this league, so I didn't bother to fact check.
That is true. That is true. I'm trying, but we'll find that answer at the end of the pod. How about
Yeah,
that?
okay.
But yeah, I guess curious on like the week one, like any guys you're nervous for, like oh this matchup I'm like not loving. I mean I know yeah, as we mentioned, Logan Webb against the Yankees and their loaded offense is never super fun. Um, but yeah, Jamison Tyone.
Do you think he's going to be a guy this week? I don't know. What are your
I
thoughts?
don't even know if he's going to pitch. I already have multiple of my pitchers confirmed to be pitching like Monday or Tuesday.
Right.
So, um,
Oh yeah. Wait. You got the Framber San Diego matchup on Friday, which a
yeah,
game
I
you will be
do.
going to.
I do. Yeah, and I was happy to learn that he's not facing Nick Pavetta,
Right.
who you have, and I'm like, because that would have been like a complete disaster of me needing to act like I'm rooting for the Padres when I'm at the game on Friday.
Right.
I don't know. Yeah, I hate the direct pitching matchups. We actually have one. I don't know if you saw. It's Ronaldo Lopez against Michael Wacha,
That's right.
which I don't think either of us are like that thrilled with our own guy in that situation. Ronaldo's facing the Royals, who's like a great matchup, but Ronaldo forgot how to throw a fastball, it seems.
Yeah. Like what is he like
Shoulder
91
surgery.
or something right now? 92.
Yeah, yeah. No, I don't feel good about the matchup. You're one of the like most tricksteriest managers to play in a matchup against because what frustrates I'm an active person on waivers too, and I like get creative and get points too. But I think the thing that you do that I'm like fundamentally against as a manager is you will pick up players that you know are not good and they will still get you points, and that'll frustrate me. I'm like, why would you add him? He stinks, and then they'll like still do good against me. Whereas I will prioritize like is the player good is more important to me. But yeah, I obviously will be budgeting my claims wisely and doing some creative things, but I would like the teams to announce who the pitchers are this week too, and that will help me plan.
I agree. I agree. I think right now, at least if my internal projections are right, we'll have 7 starts. And there's a question like we're deliberating in the Bods
Front office about maybe picking
Does
up a
that
guy.
include people in your minors right now?
That does not.
Interesting. Where are you getting seven?
Okay, so as far as I understand, um, we got Matthew
Pavetta,
Boyd,
Boyd.
yeah, Nick Pavetta, David Peterson on Saturday, Aaron Nola on Saturday as well, Waka Saturday,
Okay.
and then Grant Holmes potentially a Saturday or Sunday, more like a Sunday start.
Not Saturday if Ronaldo's pitching Saturday.
Yeah, 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 Sunday start.
Definitely? You think that's definitely happening?
I would assume so. I mean, I don't think Bryce Elder is going to go.
Okay. Okay, Grant Holmes, we can count him.
and then potentially Johan Oviedo. At least according to ESPN, there is an open slot on Sunday for Boston against Cincy. I guess they're gonna have yeah, like their main guys go like against Houston on Monday.
Didn't something happen to Oviedo today? Am I making that up?
I think he just got hit hard.
Oh, he just pitched bad.
Yeah, yeah, he just
Okay.
wasn't very good.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I mean Connolly Early is also on the roster, and so there's I guess kind of questions right now of like, is it going to be Early? Is it going to be Oviedo? Maybe it's a piggyback situation. One of them is the. I'm not entirely sure, but that's something that we're watching out for. So that might be a seventh.
Yeah, I'm kind of waiting to find out what's happening with a few of my guys as well, but
Yeah.
we'll see. Yeah, I'll be using some guys, and I feel better about my relievers than your relievers, but knowing our matchups, you will get, excuse me, you'll get 11 points from some guy that stinks. So,
Oh yeah, I mean it's gonna be it's gonna be a weekend of the BOGO, JoJo Romero, and Paul Sewald saves.
Which I know you're looking forward
no,
to.
it'll be like a Paul Sewald win after he allows 2 runs, getting him to like 1 point instead of -7.
Yeah,
And
probably.
I don't know. Yeah, you're like a trickstery manager that I'd rather not be playing in week one, but uh week one's weird no matter what because of the short matchup. And when we 2 years ago we did the long matchup, and I think we ended up starting like 21 starters or something in week one.
That's right.
We did like Japan plus a half week plus another week, and I'm like, this is too long. I'd rather just get it over with and move on to week two. So
I
that's the
agree.
situation there. But no, in a vacuum, I feel confident about the Bods because I never lose to the Bods. So
That is fair. That is
yeah.
fair.
Looking at I guess going down the list of things to talk about this year. One big segment we wanted is you're the commish, so you know this league better than most people, and part of that is knowing each and every team. Part of that is knowing what the teams need to do. I mean, you are a former champion, so I'm going to give you the floor right now for one tip for each team. I'm not sure where you want to start, but yeah, curious of what do you have to say to the folks listening out there?
Yeah, I made this one tip list for the league, and I actually went in order of the draft order that we had for the FYPD. And so I will do like Noah first and Zane last in order of, Zane winning the championship and Noah coming in last because it was a little easier for the teams that aren't as good. And I want you to just like weigh in once I'm done talking and tell me what you think, if anything stands out on each one. Okay,
All right.
so first tip for Noah, and Noah, I don't want this one to sound harsh. I would say this to your face too, but I said, do your research. I said, proud of you doing your work on off-season waivers, but you need to follow more baseball accounts, mine for prospects, know who isn't worth keeping, etc. So more of like a knowledge-based tip for Noah that he like needs to consume more information, and I think that would like help him with his team in general.
Gotcha. Okay. That's fair.
Um, T-Flow, who came in second to last, I said, get rid of your bums. You don't need to keep Nestor Cortez and Tony Gonsolin. Use the waiver wire. If a guy is injured and stinks, just get rid of him.
Yeah. Sorry, do
Uh,
you want me to wait till the very end and give my thoughts?
sure, we can do that.
Okay.
This is the other one that I think sounds a little bit harsh when I'm reading it back. This is Travis, who came in third to last. I said, improve your analysis of stats. And the reason that I came up with this one for Travis, and I'm sure your tip would be get better at trading or whatever. I think Travis, he doesn't need to hear that, and I didn't mind the trade that he just made. But improving Travis's analysis of stats, I remember he once asked me a question of like when he and I were discussing a trade, he's like, "How is this player averaging more than this player when this player's batting average is worse than this guy?" I'm like, "Wait a minute, that's not a serious question, is it?" I was like, "You know that on base percentage and strikeout rate are a big part of this league, right?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, I guess so." And I'm just like, I don't think Travis quite understands the advanced stats and like what stats are important to our scoring to the extent that he needs to.
Hmm.
He's obviously a more active and cares more about his team than some of the teams in this league, but Travis could benefit from like understanding baseball stats and advanced stats and like baseball savant and statcast and things like that a little bit more, I think.
Gotcha. Okay.
Um, Joey, I said, don't be so rigid with the age of players. Your philosophy hasn't netted you many wins.
Fair.
You want to touch on that one?
I'll wait till the end.
All right, all right. Um, Nate, I said, engage with your league mates. It's fun and we don't bite. Maybe Joey does, but it'll help you care about your team more.
Yeah. 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 I would agree.
Tommy, I said, relax on the streamers. I know it's tempting to get to the max starting pitchers in a week. it isn't worth it a lot of the time. Ride the week out with your best guys. And I know that Tommy had like some of his best starters, quote unquote, not really have great seasons last year. So he kind of felt like he was in a bind and he was scrambling for points. But really, the streamers are so bad with how many players are owned. So like, it's not really worth it.
Right.
Um, Tyler, I said, make a trade, push a little harder for a title. You clearly know what you're doing. A title probably isn't just going to appear in front of your eyes. Plenty of prospects to work with to get this done.
That's fair.
And here comes the tip for the Bods, who came in, whatever you want to call it, fifth last
Right.
year. I said, have less guys. Between minors, injured, and non-rostered guys in your majors like Campbell, lack of flexibility to make ads in season is actually hurting you. It's part of why you end up dropping guys that end up being good. Leave minor slots for more prospects and leave an IR slot or two open if you can.
That's fair. That's fair.
My tip for myself,
Oh, I like this. Like a little
challenging.
self-awareness.
Yeah, I mean, I originally wrote I originally had a different one written down. I wrote that I need to watch less games because it just like drives me insane how much baseball I watch for my team. But that could be like a tip for anybody, so I chose to not pick that.
Okay.
And I said I told myself to push harder for a stud starting pitcher, like Alec did for Scooble or whatever.
Right.
I said be willing to part with big prospects in order to get another big fish. Rotation is probably still one big piece away.
Hmm.
Is my tip for myself.
Gotcha.
Alec, who came in third, I said, and maybe he's learning this a little bit with what just happened with Dylan Cruz, but I
Hmm.
said, get less attached to your post-hype scrubs. Dylan Cruz, etc. These guys are roster cloggers. Just cut bait sooner than later in favor of higher floor guys. Those points can add up.
Hmm.
Mark, I found Mark honestly the hardest to give a tip to. I like look at how he manages his team. I'm like, I like how he's done this. His roster's deep. And I said, trade hitting depth for serviceable starting pitchers. Having great hitters is good, but you can afford to get rid of one or two. I don't know. Mark's like a good trader as it is, so maybe he will end up doing that. Um, Zane, I said, employ a pitching prospect, even trader for one or two, maybe. You have enough hitting prospects to start an army.
That is true. Yeah. What is he? Who's his only pitching prospect right now? I think it's like.
He's got Noah Schultz. I know.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Okay. Okay. I agree.
What stands out to you?
Um, I mean, all good tips. You know this league well. Yeah, I would agree with Nate. I mean, I'd love to have you on the pod. So this is my open invitation to you. Because this league is fun and something that is a lot more fun when more people are engaged and talking shit and just having a good time generally. Um, yeah, I think the Joey H thing very true. Like just because a guy is like maybe he's 23 in Double A doesn't mean he's not a guy who should get. Or the fact that you have like let's just say an MLB vet who maybe is 31 or 30, like that doesn't mean you shouldn't have him. Like Freddie Freeman's still 36 and doing it. Like obviously he's not who he was, but he'll still be serviceable for the next 3 or 4 years. And I think you need some of those guys in order to compete.
Yeah, and I think in Dynasty, obviously having a young team is a strategy, and I'm not opposed to people doing that. But you learn over time playing Dynasty more that you don't get extra points for your players being younger, especially in baseball. It's like and Joey admits he wants to win and that he doesn't want to tank, and that's why I'm giving him this tip. Like, you don't need to be so rigid or you're not going to have enough good players. And I know Joey's had bad injury luck, but other teams in the league have also had bad injury luck over time. And Joey can't survive a bunch of injuries because he doesn't have enough good players. So Joey, don't be so rigid. Having some 18-year-olds is good. Having some 32-year-olds is good. They don't all need to be 21 to 27 or whatever.
I agree. Yeah, I think everything you said was pretty on point. Definitely for us, that is very true on the Tristan McKenzies of the world that we're keeping for no good reason. It's hard. I think there's so much of the Joey effect. You know how he always talks about like, oh, I dropped this guy and then someone else picked him up and he was a beast. There's so much of that like, I guess cost or the sunken cost fallacy or whatever.
Yeah.
Where you don't want to drop it because you've already held on to him for so long. That's kind of how I feel about Christy Campbell right now.
But
So
I think it also forces you, what I'm saying is it forces you to drop guys that you're speculating on, like a guy that turns out to be a closer or, a starting pitcher with some upside or whatever. I don't know. It's hard to gauge those things, but I look at your roster and if I had your team, it would just like give me anxiety. I would just be like, I need to get rid of 5 people right now. So I have some
Mhm.
roster flexibility week to week.
That is true. I think I don't know. I like just being tricky. I think at least with our pitchers is something that right now we have just a ton of hurt guys. Unfortunately, like yeah, news update like Joe Musgrove is 3 weeks away from throwing a pitch, so he's likely going to be out until May at this point. Same thing with Justin Steele's still out.
Strider got hurt today.
Strider got hurt today. So that's part of it. Is like, all right, and obviously Griffin Canning has been, started the year hurt, and Troy Melton, same thing. So I don't know. I think like unfortunately we don't have like the top pitching guys in the league, and very protective over our hitters as well. So I mean that's why we dropped Steer, is because that was kind of one of those like, all right, this guy, we like him. He's been good in the past, but the writing's on the wall in terms of like his role on this team with Sal Stewart getting into the bigs, which I know you're wearing the Reds hat right now, and I'm sure you
We'll
like
talk about
that.
them.
Yeah. So I think you're right. I think we got to get a little bit less protective over some of these players, but yeah, you're right. I think in terms of the minors slots, like we do have a lot of young guys, and I think that's the hard thing about keeping a guy like Zach Cole or George Valera is knowing that, like, okay, we could get another top 100 guy in there, or, like a guy who might be under the radar and young. But, yeah, I think just, like, having the minors guys there, just break glass in case of emergency. It's a Sunday. We have no claims left, and this guy might be hitting, like, that's kind of the way we feel. It's like the ace in the hole.
I think has value at times. I agree
Yeah.
with that. I think that's good. Not like totally how I structure my team, but I think that it has value doing that too.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, I guess curious on kind of your general take on the off season. I know we talked a lot about it on the pod, and there's been a lot of moves. Yeah, I guess just curious on like, was this more or less active than you thought it was going to be?
More, but more, I think, just because of you, just because of the pod and because of you bullying people in the chat and stuff. Um, it's been fun. I do think that maybe others do too, but I think me, you, and Alex specifically like love spring training, and we will spec add guys from that are playing good in spring training, and seeing whose velocity's up and seeing who's got high EVs and whatever. And that's fun and good. Where I think some people like they can't shift their mind into it until the season starts. Um, and I'm like, I love an off-season trade. Like Mark and I made a trade in December, and I'm always thinking about like how I can make my team slightly better. And I like to trade, and I like to get creative, and I like to play with positional eligibility and things like that. And another thing I like to do is like if a player is sinking in value and I could see his value going down because of age or dip in play or whatever, I'm like willing to cut him for pennies on the dollar to try to get something back. That's why I feel like I make a lot of deals too.
Right.
Um, I think it's been a good off season as a whole, and I hope that trades like this that Joey and Tristan just made make it such that people are trading more in general, because I think people have learned that it's harder to dig out of a tank in our format of dynasty baseball than it is in dynasty football, for
Definitely.
example. But yeah, it's been a good, fun off season, and I'm ready for baseball.
Hell yeah. Before we get to our next segment, I did look up the schedule between us, and you are correct. You are undefeated, 4-0.
Which is
Only
interesting. We,
four?
we only
Okay.
yeah we only had we didn't have a double matchup last season
Okay.
unless I'm reading it incorrectly.
It
But
was just the regular season game and the playoff game.
Correct. Yeah. To which the closest matchup. I think this is what it was. I think we were probably leading into a Sunday, and I think you like won at the very last moment, something like that. But yeah, the closest matchup between us was 333 for you, 312 for us. So
Really?
pretty
The closest was 19 points, huh?
yeah, that's right.
21 points.
Yeah,
Whatever.
most of these have been pretty big blowouts. Oh, actually, yeah, yeah, pretty big blowouts, especially in the playoffs when our team did absolutely terrible.
And my team didn't even play that good, but I was just like, I don't know. That was like that was a fun win for me, the playoff win, because I'd been like so frustrated with my team, and I really got the short end of the stick on playing teams with high points against last year, and my record wasn't very good because of it. And you had like the opposite end where you were winning a bunch of games because of that.
Right.
And you finished ahead of me in the standings, and I actually played you as like the road team or whatever. But I like knew all along my team was better, and then I'd kind of like traded away or dropped some of my roster cloggers and got some new players by that time. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to win a championship. I know that, but I kind of don't hate you guys so much right now. So winning that matchup was like a fun moment for me. I'm like,
Mm.
wow, this season wasn't a complete waste of time. I had so many close matchups. I had a tie with Alec that was a win and got stat corrected into a tie.
Right.
Yeah, like I had lost one late in the season to T-Flow. That was pretty bad. Yeah, I forget what you asked me, but anyway.
Yeah, no, we're just talking about the matchup, but hey, I'm glad you had a good season in that respect. But yeah, new season coming forward this year. On the docket, we got two teams we like, two teams we don't like, and this is for general MLB teams, not just fantasy squads.
Yeah.
Curious on, we'll start with the teams we like. Who's on your list?
Um, okay, I didn't actually write these down or anything, but let me start with the easy one and then let you think a little bit more. I guess I'm wearing the Reds hat for a reason because I feel good about the Reds this season. And Mark and maybe others are going to make fun of me because I always feel good about the Reds and I've had a little attachment to them the last few years from having a bunch of their players. However, with how the spring training has gone, aside from the Hunter Green injury, it does seem like we're finally entering the season in which the Reds are just going to score a ton of runs. And it seems like that was kind of like bubbling for a few years from when Ellie and McLean and Noelvi Marte and I guess at the time CES originally came up a few years ago. And then like injuries happened at the wrong time. And then like Marte had the suspension and McLean had the injury. And then last year McLean stunk and whatever. The Reds actually made the playoffs, but they weren't like any sort of world beaters last year.
Right.
And now it seems like with Sal Stewart coming up and Ellie and McLean healthy, um, they have a pretty deep looking lineup. And I'm just think that Francona is a good manager, and usually his teams are greater than the sum of their parts. So I expect the Reds to be pretty good. Who's your first team that you like?
Gotcha. Well, so I had two on here. Initially, I had the Braves, but then Strider gets hurt, so I'm like, all
Oh,
right, you know
really? The
what?
Braves? They're really injured.
Very hurt, and yeah, so I took them off. I mean, they were a fringe team. The first team I got though,
The jersey I'm wearing today, the
Oh,
Miami Marlins.
big fans. I mean, and this, at least as far as I understood, the topic was just like teams that aren't necessarily like the Yankees or the Dodgers that are going to
yeah.
win, but like teams that we like. I like the Marlins a lot. Obviously, a little bit partial because we have Jacob Marcy on our squad, but I think they have a ton of pitching depth. I mean, Thomas White, right? I believe is your guy.
He is, yeah.
They have a ton of pitching depth in their minors. I think their starters are pretty damn good. Pete Fairbanks added to the squad. Your guy. And I think so. I think in terms of the bullpen, I think is a lot better. I think they have a lot of young players who have a lot of potential, and they even got some minors guys in terms of hitters that could get the call as well. I don't know. I think they could be sneaky in the NL East. I love Marcy. I love. There's a lot of high average guys like Lopez and the rest of them, and then obviously Ramirez behind the dish as well, or DHing whatever. Yeah, I don't know. I really like the Marlins. I think that they're going to be a lot better than people think.
Yeah, the Stowers injury is a bummer because he was
Yeah.
slated to be one of their better hitters, but I considered the Marlins for this exercise and ultimately went a different direction for the teams that I like.
Team number two. What do you got?
Team that I like again.
Yeah. Or do we want to rotate? Do we want to do a team we
Yeah,
don't
let's
like?
rotate. Let's do the
All
first
right.
team I don't like. How about that?
Gotcha. Yeah.
Okay, the first team I don't like that I look at them and I kind of just go, ew, is the Arizona Diamondbacks. Um, they're going to score a lot of runs. Their lineup still looks pretty professional to me, and playing at that park, they score runs in general.
Right.
But their offseason is just like gross. And they fell short on the playoffs last year. And their rotation, I was like, okay, they're going to improve their rotation. They got some guys hitting free agency. They're going to trade for somebody. They're going to sign somebody, whatever, and Burns will come back midseason, which he may still do that. But then they just brought back Zach Gallen and Merrill Kelly, and I'm like, really? That was their solution? Their bullpen looks terrible. They don't have a lefty in their bullpen on opening day, and their best bet at closer right now is Paul Sewald, who hasn't been good since 2022, 2023. That's an issue. They're the first team I don't like. How about you?
Got you. I got you. Ironically enough, I had the D-backs on my list as well, but
Okay.
we'll go with the first team that I had on there, which is the Minnesota Twins.
Okay.
I despise this ball club right now. I mean, I love Byron Buxton. We're partial to him. Also very partial to another one of our joke closers, that being Taylor Rogers, who could get save opportunities this season. I don't know. I mean, a lot of it is that their guys are hurt. Their starters are hurt, done for the year, done for multiple months. I don't love their bullpen per se. Like they got some guys like Cole Sands is all right. From a fantasy perspective, I'm not super enticed, but their lineup, I don't know. It's just I feel like if you're going to blow it up, why not bring up some of your young guys, like Gonzalez or some of those guys who are just got option to AAA. Like I don't know. I just feel like they don't have like a great direction, and I'm not entirely sure what their starters are really going to do from a hitting perspective. I think that I mean, the AL Central is already garbage. We hate the AL Central as it is right now. That is no secret that watching them is infuriating. But I don't know. I feel like this team doesn't really have a good direction. And just looking at their lineup, you keep on a guy like Josh Bell, who's like almost 34. Not sure what they're doing there. Or like James Outman, Austin Martin, like Cody Clemens. I don't know. I know a lot of their guys are hurt. Like Royce Lewis is always hurt. Buxton is always hurt. But I just feel like there could have been like a better direction. Like if Buxton is a great player, why not trade him to a team that's contending and get prospects?
Yeah, I think I can answer like what the direction is for the Twins. I think I like see it a little better here, and that's that they tried to completely blow it up at last year's trade deadline, but they didn't quite get the offers they wanted on Buxton and Joe Ryan. But they did on Yohan Duran, and that like helped them get Mick Abel, and another prospect. But I think that they, by the time of the trade deadline, will have completely blown it up. I don't think we're going to see the good veterans on this team for much longer.
Right.
And then we'll maybe see the Emmanuel Rodriguez. Maybe we have Zebby Matthews also in the rotation with Mick Abel and Taj Bradley. Yeah, I don't really like their roster as a whole either, but I think I look at them, I'm like, they're a pretty clear, they're not trying this season team to me.
Right. Yeah, it's not like this was a surprise by any metric, I guess.
No, I think assigning Josh Bell or whatever is just like, okay, we just need somebody to play first base that has a pulse.
That's fair. Yeah, or Victor Carantini like DHing.
Yeah, that's a weird one. That's a weird one for sure.
Just strange. I don't know. Either way, let's get back to teams we do like. Curious of your pick there.
Yeah, man, I thought this one over hard while you were talking, and I might get some blowback for this one. The other team I like for this season is the Chicago White Sox. I've
Gotcha.
been a little bit in on the White Sox.
That's right.
Um, I look at their lineup, I'm like, this is interesting. I'm like, they're gonna have Montgomery and Murakami in the middle of the lineup, probably both gonna strike out a lot. But I'm like, you have two guys with that level of raw power hitting next to each other, you're gonna score more runs. That's just how it's gonna turn out.
Yep.
Um, their pitching is ugly, but they did some interesting things. They brought in Anthony Kay, who I like, I don't know a ton about, but he's pitched okay in spring. And they actually had success with another. Is Kay from Japan or the KBO?
KBO.
Okay,
Oh,
they
actually,
had
I'm sorry.
success with another.
I'm sorry, that's wrong. Yeah, he's from Japan.
Okay, well, they had success with a KBO guy a few years ago in Eric Fetty when they brought him over. And he pitched well for the White Sox before he ended up getting traded to the Cardinals at the time. And they actually brought back Eric Fetty, who's got some familiarity with the organization, and he pitched really bad last year on a couple different teams. But I'm just like, it seems like the White Sox have some sort of idea on how to raise their floor. They signed a competent closer in Sir Anthony Dominguez, or at least like relatively competent. Their bullpen should be a little bit better.
Hmm.
And I'm like, they could score some runs. Like Miguel Vargas is a little bit interesting to me. Like Chase Mydroff, like he's not like a toolsy guy, but I'm like, he's could be a high floor sort of player. They seem like a team that the floor will be raised, and they also seem interested in spending money for the future. So they would be a team that doesn't shock me, where they're like not really in contention, but they make a big move kind of for the future at the trade deadline. And we end up thinking of the White Sox really differently 4 months from now than we did. So that's the other team I like.
I agree. I agree. I'll get to mine in a sec, but just to talk about the White Sox a little bit more. I agree with you 100%. I think they got like a pretty solid young core. They did bring in some free agent types like Austin Hayes. They also
Yeah, like Austin Hayes is fine.
he's a guy like he's not like MVP guy, but he'll play. Obviously Andrew Benintendi's been there for a little bit, and Luis Angel Acuna in the trade with the Mets. Like,
Yeah, I
I mean,
think getting rid of Robert is good for the White Sox too in that
yeah.
trade because maybe Robert will thrive on the Mets, but I'm just like he has the stink of this last White Sox regime and all those prospects that they had. I'm just like they need to move to a new era, and getting rid of Robert is good.
I agree. I also, I mean, talking about their bullpen a little bit more, like Grant Taylor and Jordan Leisure, like especially Taylor can like throw, I think like over 100 consistently. Like
Yeah, they have good stuff.
he throws hard. They got good stuff, and also relatively young. Taylor's still 23. They got some guys, and very partial to my guy Sam Antonacci, the Team Italy hero, if you will.
Yep.
They got a lot of guys in their minors that I'm looking forward to as well. William Bergoya Jr., shortstop prospect, a guy that made some noise, I guess, in the offseason, in spring training. So, and they also have a lot of pitching depth as well in their minors, like Tanner McDougal, Jonathan Cannon, Noah Schultz, Hagen Smith, Shane Murphy, another guy.
We can see some of those guys this year.
Yeah, Christian Oper. I don't know if I pronounce that guy's name, but he's going to be in Double A. So they got something brewing on the South Side. So Edgar Caro, guy that can hit for
Somewhat average, even if it's not a ton of
Yeah, he
pop.
went to Driveline this offseason and launch angle or whatever. I always like when I hear that guys do that.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. For the team that I like, the number two, I hate to even say this, but I like the Houston Astros,
Okay.
which I think a lot of it is due to the fact that they have so much like pitching depth, and they obviously brought in Imai, who is going to be, I think, pretty solid for them. I'm partial to them as well because they got Christian Walker and Zach Cole, a guy who's in our minors slot. But I mean, Hunter Brown, he's a dog. Christian Javier is fine. Imai is going to be fine. But I love Mikey Burrows. I mean, I think that's a guy that I think we all probably should have got at one point or another.
Ooh, let me ask you about Mike Burrows.
Mm.
Mike Burrows finishes the season, if he's healthy or whatever, finishes the season as a top blank starting pitcher in scoring.
It's a great question. I'm gonna say, let's say top 20.
Top 20.
Yeah. Oh, is that too high?
Think about like who the top 20 pitchers are. Just like quickly rattle them off in your head.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, okay. Maybe
I was
top
gonna say
25.
like
Top
if
25.
you said top 40, I still would have been like, wow.
Yeah, like for starters,
Yeah.
top 40 starters. Yeah, I think he has a
Mike
chance.
Burrows in a redraft league next year, you think he'll be drafted as a top 25 starting pitcher?
Okay. Maybe top, maybe okay, maybe top 30. Let's do top 30. I don't mean to backpedal so much.
Wow, you love Mike Burrows. And I like him a little bit too. I think he'll be interesting.
I just think that Houston has like kind of churned out these guys that have good fantasy performances.
Yeah.
I don't know, and maybe I'm wrong, but I think there's a reason why Houston wanted him so badly and traded to get him. I think he'll be really good. He's also young. I think he throws decently hard. The back end of the rotation, the Lance McCullers Jr. Not sure what they're doing there, but maybe McCullers will be okay.
Got it.
But I know your guy Brian Abreu is going to get some closing opportunities here this season, at least with Josh Hader hurt.
Yeah, and I'll be slurping up them saves while I can get them until Hader comes back.
Yeah, right. I don't know. I like this Houston team. I think that they added in the outfield. I mean, they did lose Jesus Sanchez, but they brought in Joey Loperfido. They'll have Cam Smith. Jordan, hopefully for them, will be rested and not injured. Even though last year was a little bit of a down year when he did play, hopefully this year is kind of like a bounce back for him. But
Yeah.
they got a ton of pop, a ton of young guys as well. I think it's a good mix. I don't know.
Yeah, I think I feel neutral-ish on the Astros. Like I think they'll be pretty good. But I don't like feel like super strongly about them either direction.
Gotcha. All right, as we're wrapping things up here, we have this new new
No, Keith,
segment.
you need one more team you don't like.
Oh, one more team I don't like. I'm sorry. You're right. Um,
Do I also need one more? Or did I
oh,
already say?
maybe so. Yeah, you're right. Okay, one more team I don't like. I'm gonna go with the Tampa Bay Rays.
I'll just agree with you on the Rays, and we can make this point together because I tend to agree anyway.
Yeah, I think that obviously moving away from Steinbrenner Field is going to nerf the offense a little bit, but overall, I don't know. I think that their bench is not inspiring. Hunter Fiducia, Richie Palacios, Johnny DeLuca, Ryan Velade. At least,
Are there starting hitters inspiring to you?
I mean, obviously Caminero is going to be a dog, and your former guy Jonathan Aranda, I think he'll be okay. Yandy Diaz will be okay. Obviously, very partial to both of our dogs, Chandler Simpson and Carson Williams. But yeah, I don't know. I don't like love this offense. I feel like it's a couple like has-beens and Fraley and Mullins. Nick Fortes at the catcher spot. Like I don't know. Like their catcher, they might have the worst two catchers in the league.
Yeah, I think the issue with the Rays is their cost cutting habits have like caught up to them,
Mm,
where they used to be able to handle that with like churning out good prospects and being well managed by Kevin Cash. And now like they've gone so far into getting rid of a player once he gets expensive um that like they can't keep up with the money spending of the league and being in a hard division. Yeah, I tend to agree. Like I look at their offseason and I'm just like, I don't know. I don't have like much desire to watch this team. Um, the back end of the rotation's kind of nasty. They usually hang around because Cash is a good manager, but don't seem like a playoff team to me.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, yeah, Rasmussen, all right, he'll be fine. McClanahan, I mean, he's shown flashes. We know what he's capable of, and he's been better, at least since injury. Ryan Pepio is solid. But yeah, Nick Martinez, Steven Matz,
Man.
that's the best we can do. I know you're not a big Martinez guy, but
Not a big Steven Matz guy either.
yeah, like it just feels like we're signing these guys just to sign them, just to like put someone there. And I know they have guys that are hurt. Gavin Lux now is hurt. Taylor Walls is hurt. Griffin Jacks I like in the bullpen, but
Jack's less than you, but
yeah. Other than that,
use a number of guys in the late inning.
which I wonder if like yeah maybe they're in the rebuilding sort of phase. I don't know. I just feel like if you're rebuilding, why sign like why sign a Mullins or why get a guy like Fraley or
Because they're cheap is your answer.
eh.
I guess that's fair. Yeah, I don't know. The Rays, I don't like especially much, especially given the AL East being so stacked as it is.
Yeah,
So we will see. But anyway, that's been our two teams we like and don't like. The final section we got is we want to call it a Mount Rushmore because it is 5 players, but this is our top 5 fantasy guys of all time, and this can be from any sport. I guess just going, preluding a little bit. It was hard to come up with this list because there are so many guys that I have loved over my over.
a lot of guys that were in contention.
Oh yeah, like over my decade of playing fantasy.
Okay.
Mainly fantasy football guys on this list, but some names that you're familiar with. So how about we go one for one? Give me your first fantasy guy of all time.
Yeah, I'll start with my number 5, and my number 5 is my all-time fantasy basketball demon, Kelly Oubre, aka Tsunami Poppy. Zane will remember fondly when he and I met in the championship of the fantasy basketball league we did a couple years ago that we had a we had a 7 matchup acquisition limit and we didn't have a waiver system. You could just pick guys up at free will, like an ESPN league or whatever. And I would add Kelly Oubre so much. I probably added and dropped him 20 times during the season
Yeah.
because yeah, I paid close attention to the Sixers. They were solid that year. And whenever somebody was out, like one of their big players, Maxi or Embiid or whatever was out, Kelly Oubre would get so many touches and he would always score a lot of points, but he would get no other stats. So he would always get like just enough points to be rosterable, but like get dropped the next day. And then we had a really tight matchup going into Sunday of our championship, and he had one claim left, and he took Kelly Oubre from me, so I couldn't use him on the last day of the season, and I was so upset. I ended up taking Denny Avdia instead on the Wizards at the time before Avdia became like an all-star, and Avdia had like a great day for me, and I ended up winning. But Kelly Oubre,
Wow.
I loved him that season. That's my number five.
That's funny. That's funny. I like that. I'm actually going to go with a fantasy basketball guy as well. It's funny. I had three names in contention. I believe all of them were 76ers at one point. I
I can
might
tell
be
you,
I might be wrong about that. But Robert Covington was a guy that came to mind.
he's a Sixer.
Uh, you're gonna have to help me with this pronunciation. Ursan Ilyasova.
That's correct. He was a Sixer,
And then Otto Porter. I don't know if that
not a Sixer.
not a Sixer, but either way, Otto Porter is my guy. Who
Okay.
the one season I played fantasy basketball, I think it was with you guys actually in your league, and
Okay.
I don't know. I feel like I picked him up, dropped him like a bunch of times, and that was
On
kind
the
of a fun.
Wizards, on the Warriors.
I want to say on the Wizards that year
Okay.
when he was actually like kind of a guy, like would
Okay.
would
Gotcha.
hit threes and kind of do it all. Yeah, Otto Porter for me is guy number five.
Okay. Who's your number four?
Number four, I got to go with a guy from way back, that being Jamal Charles from the Kansas City Chiefs. I just loved watching him run. A guy that averaged over 5 yards a carry. I was always pissed that he didn't get more touchdowns, but I loved watching those Chiefs teams, and he was a guy for me for sure.
It's like the Julio Jones of running backs, like was always really high but never got touchdowns.
Exactly, exactly.
Okay. Nice. My number four is a guy you know fondly from your El Paso days, and his name is Aaron Jones.
My
Um,
Towns.
Aaron Jones, I drafted in the startup of our first Dynasty football league a few years ago when he was on the Packers still. And I believe he was 27 at the time, which is like an age where running back becomes like a little bit sketch. But I was deciding between like five 27-year-old running backs or 26-year-old running backs. Ended up going with Jones because he's my type of guy. He catches passes and he does not have a body type that is going to age poorly in the NFL because I'm opposed to fat players in fantasy football. And Jones has always stayed thin, and I traded him away to Mark when I ended up tanking a year later. Actually traded back for him during our previous draft with Mark. So I have him again. Drafted him, traded back for him, had another startup this past year, drafted him another time, and he just re-signed another deal with the Vikings. I'm like, give me one more year of Aaron Jones. It's not over yet.
Incredible. Yeah. Aaron Jones, the guy from El Paso.
Yeah. You want my three?
Let's hear it.
Number three is actually a player I roster right now in our fantasy baseball league. You might be able to figure out who he is. He's a guy that is obviously not very good, but I have an irrational point of care for him. And I have this habit in fantasy baseball where I drop a guy when he's pissing me off. And then, like 5 days later, I'm like, let's bring back an old friend. I like that guy. And this guy is Jonathan India.
Ah, Jonathan India.
Yeah, he's got multiple position eligibility. He's not fast. He doesn't have power. But Joey dropped him when he shouldn't have in our first year, and I picked him up, and I'm like, ooh, India's the type of guy I like. High on base percentage, underperforming right now. He'll bounce back, and he was useful in my championship season. So I'm giving him another shot at a bounce back this year.
Wow. Okay. Okay. I like that.
I'm gonna keep going along the football theme for myself, and my next guy is none other than DJ Moore, who I have drafted in multiple seasons, and he has just been so solid for me, like year after year.
This is a good one for you because I feel like you would constantly text me about why didn't I start DJ Moore or why did I start DJ Moore. So this one's good for you.
Every time, man. Like there was this one week I was hanging out with my guy Alex Matterman in LA. We're watching Monday Night Football, eating Wingstop, and I needed like literally it was the last play of the game, like final drive. I needed like 1.3, and he caught like a 18-yard catch, and I won the matchup. Like so many times like that, he'll just go off. But of course, he'd also have some absolute stinkers of like a three catch for 47-yard day and absolutely boned me. But
He's a Buffalo Bill now, so bear that in mind when you draft this season because someone doesn't play Dynasty on the screen from me.
That is true. That is true. Yeah. I don't know if I'm I'm mainly a fantasy or a dynasty baseball type guy.
Until you start playing. But
Mm.
anyway, you're number two.
number two for me, I got to go with again. We're going a lot of fantasy football, but one of my favorite fantasy players of all time, that being Dwayne Bowe.
Oh, Dwayne Bowe. I owned him in his rookie season. He was really, really good. That was a good draft pick of mine, and also a member of the all-time best fantasy team name, Skittles. Taste Dwayne Bowe.
Yeah, that was literally like the only reason I drafted him. And then they had that one season where he went absolutely off. Like what was it, 15 touchdown catches or something like that?
It was when he was a rookie, whatever year that was, like 2010-ish.
Hmm. Yeah, it was fun watching the Chiefs. You know, him and Jamal Charles. Like I loved watching the Chiefs back in the day. So yeah, Dwayne Bowe. But yeah, what about you? What's your number two?
My number two is quite possibly my all-time favorite fantasy baseball player. I don't own him right now. I've owned him numerous times over the years since I started playing fantasy baseball. He's still hanging on by a thread in the league, and his name is Justin Verlander. Um, I had him in his MVP season with the Tigers when he had like 24 wins, and he was like the most enjoyed player to own in fantasy ever. Had him again in his more recent Cy Young season with the Astros. I guess that would have been 2022 when he was coming back from Tommy John or ACL surgery or something like that,
Yeah.
and he like fell in the rankings because he just hadn't pitched the last year. And I got him probably like between the 11th and 13th rounds, and he was the AL Cy Young. He was awesome. Drafted him again the next year when he signed with the Mets, and the Mets were playing bad, and they traded him back to the Astros, and he was like so that season. And then we started playing Dynasty, and I had to force myself to not draft Justin Verlander so many different times as he kept going down and down the board. I'm like, Nick, he's cooked. It's over. He's too old. Don't do it. I actually had him for a few starts last year. But Justin Verlander and kind of some other Astros for a few years there kind of like lost their value because people were like anti-Astros. So I had Jose Altuve a number of times too, and he was also really good for me. And when we started playing Dynasty, it felt so weird to not have Justin Verlander and Jose Altuve on my team.
Mm. Damn, those are some fantasy baseball mainstays for you.
Yeah, Verlander, I think I had at least four different times.
Damn. Okay, I see you. Sorry, am I still on number two or going to my number one?
You
I've
want me
looked
to
at
read
number
my
one.
number one first?
Let's go. Yeah, let's hear it for you.
My number one all-time fantasy guy is one of my favorite athletes. My friends make fun of me all the time for liking him, and that guy is Taysom Hill. He's the all-time fantasy cheat code.
Uh,
You were able to start him at tight end when he was playing quarterback. It caused a big stink in our league when it happened, but I did it anyway. Had him in every iteration of my dynasty teams over the past few years. Drafted him when he was useful, drafted him when he was not useful, traded for him, got him on my tank team to be a veteran presence for the young guys in my locker room. I, I will squeeze every last bit of value out of Taysom Hill. I think I drafted him in the last round of our startup last year. And I either still own him in one league or I've dropped him everywhere. But the Taysom Hill experience, you're always good for that one 30-point week. And every time it came, it was wonderful for me. I love that guy. He's like a anomaly in NFL players where he played multiple positions and did weird things. And he was like old all throughout this, just like unafraid of getting concussed 18 times. Yeah, he's my number one.
Wow. Okay, that is not what I was expecting, but honestly, I don't blame you because he super versatile, Swiss Army knife, and honestly, I maybe he goes to baseball. Maybe you pick him up in your minor slot.
I could, yeah. Does he have minors eligibility?
he might. Maybe use him on your FYPD fifth round pick.
Yeah. Oh, good idea.
My number one guy, there was many that came to mind, and I'll shout them out after I say my number one pick. But the number one pick has to be our current dog, Atlanta Braves catcher Drakey Baldwin.
Number one, Drake Baldwin. Okay.
Number one.
A couple guys that came to mind that I thought about the 1 year of Jordan Cameron, former Browns tight end, former USC Trojan as well. Most people don't know. Or yeah, for some reason I just loved Browns receivers like Brian Hartline when he was on the Browns, or Andrew Hawkins, because like I like wrote an article about Andrew Hawkins and he like retweeted it.
Did you have Terrell Pryor? That one good.
I did as well. Oh, that was so sick. In terms of baseball, guys that came up for me, yeah, like Shawnee Burke. Yeah,
number one.
just it was just to say his name, but Alex Verdugo was a guy that came to mind as well.
Like whenever he would do well,
that's perfect for you because he's a guy that I'm actively like I have no interest in him, and you're like Alex Verdugo. I'm like, nah, I'm okay.
Yeah, yeah, but yeah, I love Drake Baldwin. I think mainly because former Atlanta guy. Like I have some allegiance to the Braves a little bit, and he was a guy that we picked up in the offseason, top prospect who ended up just being a dog. And he's a catcher. He's young. He hits for good average. He doesn't K a ton. Hits for power, and at a premier position. So yeah, Drake Baldwin. He's my number one fantasy guy.
Nice. That was good. That was fun. A little exercise we just did.
I got you. I got you. Before we wrap up here on the pod, any final thoughts on the fantasy season? Any things that you want to talk about before we go?
Yeah. I think this is a good vessel for me to say that I am going to be banging the gavel for league engagement and teams trying harder this season. Now, there's the teams I don't have to tell this because they already know to do that, but the ones that traditionally don't, you know who you are. I don't need to mention your names. Please try harder. Please remember the season is long. Use waivers, make trades, do things to make your team better. Look ahead to the next season. Um, I have to give credit to Joey, whose team stinks, but always has fun with it and gets involved no matter what. If you need any help with anything, I'm happy to help. I think in previous years, the last two, I was like, okay, people are feeling it out. I'll let people kind of do their thing. But now I want this league to flourish and thrive further into the future. So I'm going to keep pushing those who aren't paying as much attention to pay more attention throughout the season. I still think the league is awesome, even when those people are lagging. And us towards the top are more engaged, but I figured I should say that right now. What about you?
That's fair. That's fair. I agree. Appreciate you saying that. Yeah, I mean, I'm super stoked for the year. I think that obviously I come on the pod like every every 5 days, so people know how I feel about the league. But yeah, I'm just really excited for the season to get underway. I think the Padres are going to be annoying, but yeah, I'm just really excited to see mainly come opening day. I don't know if like tomorrow night is when rosters need to be finalized, but
I want to say no. I want to
Yeah.
say like it's not until the teams have to play their first game, and not even every team plays on Thursday.
Oh,
So
interesting.
yeah,
Okay, yeah, that's mainly going to frustrate the hell out of me. I wish that's my one thing is I wish that opening day was like one day rather than we have this like weird like off day for some teams on Friday.
and Sunday. Some teams have Sunday.
Yeah, it just seems very strange, but yeah, that's my only thing. But I'm excited to get back to it and be absolutely pissed off at my team and dropping guys after they have like a -10 and then regretting
Yeah.
it.
Yep. All our guys that we were speculating on in the offseason, most of them just stink, and then we move on to whoever's next on waivers.
Exactly. So anyway, we got waiver claims coming tomorrow. Another fresh $300 to be spent. But in the meantime, I appreciate you coming on the pod.
Yeah, thanks. Oh, one last thing to mention. Connor, quit holding up me and Keith's trades by your opinions that you can't be making deals that Keith would have otherwise made. We encourage trading in this league. That's all I have.
there you go. That's my Nick Beach, folks. Let's keep the Mulder for the podcast. We'll see you next time.